I thought the Raiders, Ashton Jeanty, I thought he fit Chip Kelly. I thought he was what they need. I think Geno's always proven on play action. He's a more than capable NFL quarterback. I loved that pick. That's one of the few we called. What did you make of it?
Yeah, we talked about it in March. I think you asked me the question, what I think about it. And it's an identity pick. I think in that division, too, with the great quarterbacks and the great offenses in that division, Pete Carroll views a great running game as an extension of the defense. He's got this formula in play calling. How many times do I run it? Plus, how many times do I have a completion? And that's my formula. Ball security is a major factor. But like when you go back to who Pete Carroll was at SC with Lendell White and Reggie Bush, and then who he was in Seattle with Marshawn Lynch, this fits him exactly. And I would even say that, if you really study what Chip Kelly was last year as the play caller at Ohio State, this was a run first team. And this was a be the hammer, not the nail kind of a mindset that I think both coaches have. Perfect fit.
Yeah. And I want to look just beyond Jeanty, because I've talked, extensively about Jeanty, right? And I think that was the right pick. And I was shouting at them to draft Jeanty, and I gave all my explanation why I think it's fine. And people are trying to say like, oh, don't draft a running back, and so we don't have to go in those circles. But make no mistake about it, like this was a great draft beyond just Jeanty. We can look beyond just the first round. I know it's not easy for a lot of people, and there's so many different teams to talk about, but like we can look beyond just the main workhorses and the main top picks like a Jeanty. And I get it, right? Like obviously Jeanty is the running back top pick in the NFL draft, so but we can look beyond that as well. But I mean obviously Jeanty, but if we look at Jack Besh, I'm just going to read this. This is from PFF, right? The star of the Senior Bowl game. Besh is another weapon for newly acquired quarterback Geno Smith and Chip Kelly. He brings excellent hands, having dropped just one pass in 2024. He was efficient, averaging 2.44 yards per route run. Besh showed good potential as a freshman before injuries derailed his next few seasons, but he broke out as a senior with 1,034 yards and 9 touchdowns in 2024. Then you got Porter. The Raiders added offensive weapons with their first 2 picks and have now added a talented cornerback and special teams player here in the 3rd round. Porter is a former wide receiver who ranks above 95th percentile in height and length and has an elite track background that translates to the field. He earned a 79.4 PFF grade in 2024. And I actually love defensive players that were originally offensive players. I think it gives them a depth and an understanding of both sides of the ball, but obviously since they're going to be primarily playing defense, like I love that. It gives you such a grounded understanding of what you're expecting from other receivers. You know the language, the energy, and I think it's a very undervalued aspect of some of these defensive players. Then you got Rodgers. Rodgers brings an extensive experience at tackle, having clocked 55 career. Hold on, let me see this. You guys can see this. Rodgers brings extensive experience at tackle, having clocked 55 career starts and more than 4,300 snaps across 5 seasons at Texas Tech. While he possesses good athleticism, he lacks the ideal lower body power to anchor. Yet he still managed to secure a 77 plus PFF pass blocking grade in each of the past 2 seasons. Then you got Charles Grant. He's a late bloomer, quick on his feet, lateral quickness, helped him earn an impressive 93.0 PFF run blocking grade on zone concepts in 2024. I'm not going to go through every single pick, but really the point that I'm just trying to drive home is that they had a very complete, well-rounded draft. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, you can make an argument. This is what kind of stresses me out about talking about the draft for all these teams, is that you can make the argument, honestly, that every team knocked it out of the park and every team absolutely dropped the ball. There's always another player that you could have drafted. There was always another move to make. There's always a player that like, oh, he's a little banged up. I don't know. Is he injury prone? He could be I don't know. Like you could make that argument about every single player who's ever been drafted. So it just, to me, I was thinking about this last night because I knew I was going to make a lot of these videos this week, and it was just like, it just kind of comes down to like, what lens do you want to look at the draft. And if I'm going to be if I'm going to be optimistic, then I want the optimism to be rooted in reality and not just like, well, hey, it can happen. You know, who's never say never. Like I want it to be actually rooted in something. And I just think when you look at this draft as a whole, it's very balanced, it's very complete, and you can see Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll all over this draft. And at the end of the day, like that's what you want, right? You brought in this new coaching staff to redesign, redefine, and reignite this Las Vegas Raiders team. And you're giving them a chance. You're giving the coaches the draft and the pieces that they need to succeed. You're not bringing in a new coaching staff and say, hey, I just need you to, win our way, or this is what we're going to do, and you need to find a way to make it work. No, you're giving them the resources. And like I said before, you're building off of such a bigger foundation than you realize, because it's not like you're starting from scratch from last year. It's not like you're just bringing in a new coaching staff and new draft. Like you have the quarterback, you have the coach on defense and offense, and that's also the huge benefit here. It's not like you brought in just like a great offensive head coach, right? Or just a great defensive head coach with Pete Carroll. And then it's kind of like, yeah, we kind of need to find an OC, and you get an OC and it's like, his name's John Smith. And like, yeah, he's had a little bit of a success here and there, kind of up and coming, see how he does with Geno Smith. Chip Kelly is tried and true. I understand Chip Kelly hasn't had this like, grand slam home run. He was a head coach, obviously in the NFL, left, et cetera, but like he knows his offense. You can't argue that. You can argue about some of his other coaching let's just say pitfalls that he's had in the past, especially as a head coach. That's all done though. One, you mature, you grow, evolve. He's made his mistakes, and he has Pete Carroll's the head coach. Like but I could understand if Chip Kelly was the head coach, then I would be like probably a little bit less optimistic. I would still be encouraged and excited to see how he's evolved as a head coach. But Pete Carroll's there. Like, that was the beauty of what the Raiders did. They're like, Pete Carroll, you are the head coach. You are the culture setter. You are the one that everyone's going to listen to in that locker room. And Chip Kelly is coming into the NFL with hat in hand, man. Like, he is not coming in there with bravado and be like, hey, listen here, everyone. This is how we're going to do it. Like, it's just not what it's going to be. And it's very much reminiscent of Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn. And so I'm just so excited to see how this all balances out. And I just think there should be nothing but optimism for the Raiders going into the season. And again, I want to be clear, because since I can come in hot with some of the positivity, it's like, I'm in no way calling for the Raiders. Oh, they're winning 14 games. It's they're off. No one can stop them. Chiefs have no chance. Broncos are in their dust. Like, I'm not saying that either, but I've seen so many extra negative takes around the Raiders, especially. And, a lot of people, I think it seems like people think it's kind of like, I don't want to say cool, but they think they sound smarter when you knock a draft. Because it's just like you know something that someone else doesn't, right? If you say Ashton Jeanty was a bad draft pick, that almost makes you sound smart because he was drafted 6th overall. So you know something that no one else knows, that the NFL doesn't know, that the Raiders don't know. And it just makes you sound smarter, right? Think about it like when you watch if you watch any cooking shows or anything like that, any of the competition shows, someone who says, oh, this is delicious, it's so amazing, like, doesn't sound that good. But if you criticize and say, well, it's a little too raw and it's a little bit crunchy and it needs to be a softer texture, like you just sound more intelligent. And like you see that with the draft all the time. Everyone's always, flicking their, putting their nose up, and it makes them sound more educated. And, and if you're positive and if you're excited, if we pick, Porter and say, I think Porter can have a lot of success with the Raiders, it's just like people are like, why? And it's always hard to see the value in 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks. It's really hard. Half the draft picks in the 1st round are failures. And so it's just like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, like those odds only get worse. So it's always difficult to truly see the value. And if anyone really had any degree of true confidence and understanding of these drafts and all of that, teams would be knocking it out of the park year after year after year after year. And they obviously don't do that. Even great teams like the Chiefs and the Eagles and Harry Roseman, etc., like they still miss plenty of times. So, you always have to take that with a grain of salt. But at this point right now, until I see otherwise, I have no reason but to be pumped and excited for what the Las Vegas Raiders are doing. And I think when you have a division like the Broncos with the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs, and obviously big name people like Sean Payton, Pete Carroll, Harbaugh, Herbert, Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes, Geno, like it's box office, man. It's box office. And having that division truly competitive, having that division where you truly don't know who's going to win it, having, the third and fourth place team fighting over to see who can get into the wild card round, like that's box office. That is the NFL, man, at its finest. And I really believe the Raiders have now, rounded third and are coming home. So I'm pumped for it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Las Vegas Raiders and their draft overall, according to PFF, giving it an A? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.